Have you ever thought about how some people appear in our lives at the most important moments? Sometimes it seems that they came specifically to convey an important message or help us cope with a difficult situation. Have you ever experienced a sense of déjà vu when meeting someone as if you knew them before that day? In this video, we will talk about how such meetings are not accidental, but happen for a specific reason. Stay with us until the end, because what you learn can significantly change your perception of life. And before that, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share the video. Your support helps us create more useful content for your spiritual development. One day, on the bank of the river, in the shade of a spreading tree, an elderly monk Haru was sitting in meditation. A young man named Yuji approached him. He bowed his head and asked respectfully, "Master, why do I sometimes feel as if I have met people before when I meet them? Some of them evoke deep sympathy in me, while others fill me with inexplicable anxiety. Are these meetings accidental?" Monk Haru looked up at the young man and replied with a gentle smile, "No one in our lives appears by chance, Yuji. Every encounter, whether fleeting or long, has its place in the great pattern of our destiny. We are like leaves carried along by the currents of life, and every person we meet plays a role in our development." He pointed to the heavens where the birds soared. Just as birds fly through the sky not by themselves, but thanks to invisible currents of the wind, so we move along the continuous currents of destiny. Meeting people is not an accident. They happen at the right time to teach us something important, like seeds that grow in the garden of our souls. Yuji thought as he watched the birds fly. When Haru continued, "Some people come into our lives to be our teachers, even if they cause pain. The hardships they bring make us grow, to develop inner strength. They are like sharp stones along the way that, despite the pain, help us become wiser." The monk stood up and walked over to a tree with strong roots. "There are also those who come to support us, just like the roots of this tree supported in the storm. Such people become our anchor in the hardest times. They give us the strength to stand firm despite the storms of life. But like everything in nature, some of them eventually leave, having fulfilled their mission." Yuji nodded, thinking about those who supported him during difficult moments in his life, and those who left, leaving behind important lessons. Haru continued, "Some people stay with us forever, like the stars that always shine in our sky. They are true friends, kindred spirits with whom we share the joys and burdens of our days." The words of the wise monk touched the young man deeply. He realized that every person who appeared on his path played an important role in his spiritual development. And even those who brought him pain contributed to his growth. "But remember, Yuji," Haru added, "that there are three types of people who are especially important for our evolution. Those who open new horizons for us, those who inspire us to continue on our path, and those who stay with us only for a short time to push us to make important decisions. They are all necessary for our growth." Yuji sighed deeply, feeling gratitude for all the people who had entered his life and those who were yet to come. Each of them is a part of his personal history. Each meeting is a gift from fate, helping him move forward. Many years later, Yuji himself became a teacher, passing on this wisdom to his students. He remembered his mentor Haru and his words about the meaning of encounters, understanding that life is an amazing journey, with each person you meet bringing a unique lesson along the way. And while some people may cause pain, they are our greatest teachers, helping us develop humility, patience, and love. Yuji completed his training understanding that true wisdom lies in opening our hearts to each encounter, learning the lessons they bring, and being willing to accept every gift the universe bestows upon us through these people. And when he himself faced life's challenges, he knew that there would always be people sent by fate to help him find the strength to move on. Story 2. The Road of Two Monks. In a remote village at the foot of the sacred Mount Kailash, there was a small Buddhist monastery. There lived a young monk named Lingpa. From a young age, he was immersed in meditation, studying the sutras and searching for enlightenment. Lingpa believed that the only path to liberation was deep immersion in oneself, detachment from the outside world, and complete adherence to the teachings of Buddha. One day, when the sun was at its zenith and the monastery was drowning in silence, a stranger knocked on its gate. It was an elderly monk named Tenzin. His clothes were shabby, his shoes were worn out from long journeys, but the old man's eyes shone with extraordinary kindness and wisdom. The abbot of the monastery greeted him as an old friend and invited him to stay, but Tenzin was known for his desire to never stay in one place for long. He always said that knowledge comes through travel and meeting people. Lingpa was surprised by this look. It seemed to him that true understanding could only be found in solitude and contemplation, and not in the external world, full of vanity and illusions. The next day, the abbot invited Lingpa to accompany Tenzin on his way to the next monastery, which was located behind the high mountains. It was not an easy journey, and Lingpa was initially reluctant, because he did not want to be distracted from his spiritual practice. But the abbot insisted, wisdom is not only in contemplation, but also in action. Perhaps this path will teach you something important. They set out. At first, Lingpa was withdrawn and focused on his thoughts. He barely spoke to Tenzin, believing that time spent on conversations distracted him from his inner search. But Tenzin seemed to understand his silence. He did not force conversation, but was attentive to everything around him: the sounds of the wind, the rush of the stream, every step along the path. A few days passed, and one day, as they were passing through a small village, Tenzin suggested stopping at a lonely hut on the edge of a field. An old woman named Sangmo lived there. She invited them for tea. Sitting by her hearth, Tenzin began to talk to her about simple things, about life, about the weather, about her worries. Lingpa did not understand why he was wasting time on such conversations, but after a while he noticed that Sangmo seemed to come alive. Her eyes shone with joy, as if she had not felt such warmth and attention for a long time. When they left her house, Lingpa could not resist asking, "Why do you spend so much time with such people? We should strive for enlightenment and not waste time on empty talk." Tenzin smiled and replied, "People are not obstacles to enlightenment. They are part of the path. Everyone we meet brings a lesson that we may not immediately recognize." The Buddha taught compassion not for abstract beings, but for every living being, for the people who come into our lives. The next day they found themselves at the foot of a mountain where a narrow, dangerous path ran. The path was steep and slippery, and Lingpa moved forward cautiously, relying on his strength and experience. Tenzin moved more slowly, but with a certain calm confidence, as if each encounter with a stone or rock was another moment of practice for him. At one point, Lingpa stumbled. He tried to hold on, but the slippery stone beneath his feet betrayed him, and he began to fall down the slope. At that moment, Tenzin, showing surprising dexterity for his age, caught him by the arm. The monk stood at the edge of the cliff, his heart pounding. Tenzin, still holding his hand, said, "You are too caught up in your thoughts. Thoughts of enlightenment can become a trap if you forget about the simple things, the present moment, helping those around you." This incident made Lingpa think. For the first time in a long time, he felt that his perception of enlightenment was one-sided. He thought of the spiritual path as a personal achievement, but he began to understand that there was something greater to it that connected all people. When they finally reached the monastery, Tenzin turned to Lingpa. Every person we meet is not a coincidence. The Buddha said that we are all connected by karmic bonds, and sometimes these bonds are stronger than we can understand. Meetings are not coincidences. They bring us lessons and opportunities for growth. Just as Sangmo reminded us of the importance of simple human interaction, just as I helped you not to fall, so you will help someone on your path. Lingpa thought. His old beliefs began to crumble like old walls. He no longer saw people as distractions from his path. Instead, he began to feel that each person was a sign sent to him to understand something important. As Lingpa said goodbye to Tenzin, he realized that their meeting was not just a chance event, but an important lesson he needed to learn. The people we meet do not come into our lives by chance. They are reflections of ourselves, our teachers, helpers, and even tests on the path to true enlightenment. After this journey, Lingpa returned to his monastery, but his meditations had changed. He now practiced not only in silence and solitude, but also through interaction with the people around him. He began to see everyone he met not just as a wanderer on the path, but as an important participant in his spiritual growth. Every encounter was now an opportunity for awareness and gratitude. The conclusion of this story is that the people we meet on our path in life are not random. They appear in our lives with a specific purpose, to bring important lessons, to help us understand something new, or to change our perception of the world. Sometimes we are too focused on our personal goals or spiritual aspirations and forget the importance of simple human interactions. True enlightenment lies not only in solitude and meditation, but also in the ability to see lessons and opportunities for growth through relationships with others. People are important teachers on our path, helping us become better and wiser. 3. The story of the wanderer and the master. Why people do not come into our lives by chance. In one distant valley, surrounded by mountains and forests, lived a sage named Master Sunyata. His name meant emptiness, because all his life he sought enlightenment through the practice of liberation from the attachments and illusions of this world. Many years ago, he built a small temple on a hill, far from people, and every day he meditated alone, seeking inner peace and harmony with nature. Time flowed unnoticed for him, days replaced nights, and years passed like moments. One day, when the sun was just beginning to rise over the mountains, the master noticed the silhouette of a traveler in the distance. He was slowly climbing the path leading to the temple. Master Sunyata did not like to be disturbed, because he had long ago left the world of human vanity behind. However, something about this traveler attracted his attention. The traveler moved easily, although his feet were worn out by the road and his clothes were dusty and worn. The master decided not to go into the depths of the temple as usual, but to meet the traveler. When the traveler approached, he bowed to the master and said, "Forgive me for my unexpected visit. I have been traveling for a long time and seeking the truth. I have heard about you, sage, and about your secluded temple. Tell me, may I stay here for a while and study with you?" Master Sunyata looked closely at the traveler. He felt that this man had not come by chance, but his motives remained unclear. "Why are you looking for me?" asked the master. The traveler thought for a moment. His face became serious, but he answered sincerely, "I am tired of worldly life. I am no longer interested in pleasures and wealth. I want to understand the nature of things, know the truth and find peace. Please allow me to stay and study with you." The master closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the traveler's words. Then he opened his eyes and nodded gently. "You can stay. But remember, the truth is not always where we look for it." So the traveler, whose name was Lotus, stayed in the temple. Every day he performed simple duties, cleaning the temple, collecting firewood, fetching water from the stream. He watched the master, who spent his time in silence, meditation, and occasional conversations. For months, Lotus strove to achieve inner peace, but with each passing day his mind became more and more restless. One day, Lotus decided to approach Master Sunyata and ask, "Master, I have been here for several months, but it seems to me that I am not getting closer to the truth. Why can't I find peace like you?" The master looked at Lotus with a gentle smile. "You are too attached to the search," he replied. "You expect the truth to come as something external, as a gift. But the truth is already here, around you and within you. You will not be able to see it as long as you hold on to your expectations." Lotus did not understand what the master meant. He continued to search, continued to ask questions, but he could not find an answer. One day, when the master was sitting on the porch of the temple, Lotus approached him and asked, "Master, why did you allow me to stay? I feel that I have learned nothing. Perhaps I am just wasting your time." Master Sunyata looked at Lotus with deep compassion. "Don't you see? It was not by chance that you came here. Your life has brought you to this moment, not so that you would receive answers, but so that you would understand the very nature of your questions. You have not come to me by chance, just as I have not met you by chance." Lotus was puzzled by these words. "But what does this mean? Why am I here?" The master stood up and motioned for Lotus to follow him. They went into the forest, where a river flowed nearby. Its waters were crystal clear and murmured peacefully. The master pointed to the reflection of Lotus in the water. "Look at your reflection. It seems real to you, but it is only an illusion created by the surface of the water. So are all your questions. They exist only on the surface of your mind, but do not touch the depths. You have come here to understand that the answers are not important. What is important is that you let go of your expectations." Lotus thought, looking at his reflection, which wavered in the water. He realized that all this time he was trying to find something external, forgetting that his search was only his own restless mind. At that moment, something inside him changed. He felt relieved and, as if for the first time in a long time, his mind was at peace. A few more months passed. Lotus continued to perform his duties, but now his heart was more at peace. He stopped asking questions and began to simply be present in each moment. Each day was unique, and Lotus learned to see beauty in simple things: the sound of the wind, the play of light on the leaves of the trees, the sound of the master's footsteps as he passed by. One day, Lotus realized that it was time to leave. He approached the master and said, "Master, I now understand that my path continues, but it is time for me to go. I am grateful for everything you have taught me." Master Sunyata smiled. "You have learned to see that people do not come into our lives by chance. Every person we meet is not a coincidence, but a lesson that must be realized. But remember that you were such a lesson for me." Lotus, surprised by this confession, asked, "Am I a lesson for you?" The master nodded. "You have reminded me of the importance of compassion and patience. Each of us is a wanderer on the path, and even the wisest teacher learns from his students. Our meetings are not accidental, but they are always necessary for growth and awareness. Lotus bowed and, with gratitude in his heart, set off on his journey. Now he knew that every person he met on his path carries meaning, and that there are no accidental meetings. The takeaway from this story is that every event or character a person encounters in life is not accidental. Every encounter and interaction holds lessons and opportunities for personal growth and awareness. The story of Master Sunyata and the Lotus highlights that truth and wisdom are found not only in the search for external knowledge, but also within ourselves. Key messages from the story. There are no accidental encounters. Every interaction with others plays an important role in our journey and is part of our spiritual growth. Searching for the truth within, it is important to understand that the answers to life's questions are often found not outside, but within us. Realizing this can lead to inner peace. The lessons we receive, we learn not only from teachers, but also from those who come into our lives as students or simple companions. Compassion and patience. Every person we meet can teach us important life lessons if we open our hearts and minds to understanding. The value of the moment. Being present in every moment and seeing the beauty in simple things helps us find peace and harmony, even in the mundane. Thus, the story encourages the reader to recognize the significance of all encounters and interactions in their lives, viewing them as important steps towards understanding themselves and the world around them. 4. The story of flowers of destiny, the path of samadhi. In the majestic mountains of Nepal, where heaven meets earth, there was a small monastery called Sadhana. This monastery was known for its wise monks and its peaceful atmosphere that attracted people from all over the world. In the monastery lived a young monk named Rita. He was a diligent student and sought enlightenment by studying the teachings of Buddha and practicing meditation. Despite his devotion, he often felt that something was missing in his path. One day, while Rita was meditating on the bank of a river, a woman named Mira approached him. She was a traveler who was searching for the meaning of life and hope. Her eyes radiated sadness and desire, and she asked Rita, "Hello, monk. I have come here in search of an answer to the question that torments me. Why can't I find my place in this world?" Rita, sensing her distress, replied, "Hello, Mira. Each of us faces difficulties and searches. Perhaps the answer to your question lies not in finding your place, but in understanding why you are here and who is with you." Mira could not understand what Rita was talking about, but his words touched her. She stayed at the monastery to learn more about his teachings. Every day she observed the monks, learned meditation, and listened to their wise advice. However, the feeling of inner emptiness did not leave her. On the same day that Mira began to master meditation, another wanderer arrived at the monastery, an old sage named Surya. He was known for his deep understanding of life and his ability to see the truth in every being. His arrival caused a stir among the monks, and everyone gathered to hear his teachings. Surya began his sermon. "We live in a world where every person we meet comes with a purpose. These meetings are not accidental, and each of us has a role to play in the lives of others. To understand this, we need to learn to see the world through the eyes of the heart." Mira was enchanted by the words of the sage. She felt that these lessons would help her understand why she came to the monastery. With each word of Surya, her heart filled with hope and understanding. Rita was also impressed, and his interest in the elders' wisdom grew. A few days passed, and Surya invited his students to meditate in the forest. He believed that nature could help them to understand their feelings and connections with the world around them more deeply. During the meditation, under the warm sun and the quiet whisper of the trees, Mira suddenly felt the presence of something great. She began to remember moments in her life when people, seemingly by chance, came into her life, leaving traces in her heart. Why did they come? She wondered. What is their role in my path? After the meditation, inspired by her thoughts, Mira decided to share them with Rita and Surya. I realized that everyone I met was part of my path. I should not perceive their departure as a loss. Each of them gave me something, and I learned something important from them, she said with sparkling eyes. Surya nodded, smiling. Exactly, Mira. Every encounter is an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. You may not yet understand the significance of these people, but in time you will see their lessons. Soon after, the sage announced that he was going into seclusion for a while to deepen his meditations. Mira felt that she would lose an important mentor, but Rita told her, "Don't be sad, Mira. Surya may not be with us physically, but his teachings will remain with us. Learn to observe, and you will see how people come and go in our world, leaving us with important lessons." Inspired by Rita's words, Mira decided to continue her research. She began keeping a journal in which she wrote down all her thoughts and realizations that arose during the process of meditation. Every evening, she read her notes, analyzing how the people in her life influenced her perceptions and spiritual growth. A few months passed, and one day, when Mira was again meditating by the river, she noticed how the nature around her was changing. She saw flowers bloom and fade, the moon change its phases, and realized that this reflected the cycles of life. She felt that, like flowers, people come and go, leaving behind seeds of memories and lessons. At that moment, Rita approached her. He noticed that Mira had changed, becoming more confident and peaceful. "You have become wiser, Mira. You have found your path," he said happily. "Yes, Rita. I realized that people do not come into our lives by chance. Each of them teaches us something important. I began to see the world differently and learned to appreciate each meeting," she replied with a smile. Rita rejoiced at her realization. He realized that his own path had also been illuminated by interactions with others. Together, they decided to continue their quest, exploring deeper the teachings they had received from Surya and from each other. Sometime later, when Mira and Rita were about to leave the monastery, they decided to walk around the monastery grounds and thank all the monks for what they had done for them. They saw how old and young monks worked together, learning from each other. Each of them brought their own unique experience and knowledge, and they understood that each monk was a teacher for the others. When Mira and Rita said goodbye to the monastery, they left it with hearts full of gratitude and understanding. Now they knew that their path would continue, and that each person they met along the way would add new colors to their life picture. This story shows that all the people who come into our lives have their own purpose and purpose. Every encounter is an opportunity to learn and grow. Like flowers, people come and go, but their lessons remain with us. Realizing this truth helps us appreciate every moment and every contact, strengthening our connection with the world around us. We must be open to the lessons that can come from every person we cross paths with, because it is through them that we can gain true understanding of life and ourselves. 5. The story of the journey of hearts, the path of faith and power. In a remote village nestled at the foot of the majestic Himalayas, there lived a young sage named Anira. He was known for his ability to heal people's hearts, guiding them to inner peace and harmony. Anira spent his days in meditation, exploring the depths of his soul and receiving revelations about how life is intertwined with the destiny of each person. One day, a woman named Lala came to the village, full of energy but also confusion. She was searching for her place in life and could not understand why her heart always remained in turmoil. Lala came to Anira for advice. "Respected sage," she began, "I travel this world in search of an answer. Why do so many people appear and disappear in my life? And why do none of them stay by my side?" Anira looked at her with kindness and replied, "Lala, every person you meet comes into your life for a reason. They all play a role, even if you don't realize it. Let me tell you a story about the intersections of fate so that you can understand better." Lala sat down with interest, preparing to listen. A while ago, in the same village, there lived a young warrior named Rudra. He was strong and brave, but he was also unsure of himself. His heart was burdened by the shadow of the past when he lost his friend in battle. Every day he trained to become stronger, but in his soul there was sadness. One day, during one of his training sessions, he met Lalita, a young healer who came to the village to help the sick. She saw Rudra struggling with his own demons and approached him. "You seek strength outside yourself, but true strength comes from within," she said. Rudra looked at her with bewilderment, but her words touched him. Lalita became his friend and teacher. She taught him to meditate and let go of the pain of the past. Gradually, Rudra began to see the light in his heart and gained confidence. As Rudra and Lalita grew closer, another person entered their lives, Tara, a wandering monk who sought solace in his travels. He always sought meaning in life and had a special connection with nature. Tara knew about Rudra's bitterness and decided to help him. "Each of us is a reflection of others," Tara said. "We come into each other's lives to teach important lessons. Sometimes we play the role of a teacher, sometimes a student." Rudra, Lalita, and Tara became friends, supporting each other in difficult times. They understood that their destinies were intertwined, and this gave them strength. But one day, trouble came to the village. A neighboring village was attacked by an evil army, and Rudra, Lalita, and Tara decided to help. Rudra felt it was his duty to protect people, but fear gripped his heart again. "I can't lose anyone again," he said, fighting his inner demons. Lalita came to him and said, "We will all be together. Each of us is a light, and we can light the way for each other." Tara added, "Remember that suffering is a part of life. We can use it to grow." With these words, they set off for the next village. In the battle, Rudra showed his courage, and Lalita used her healing powers to help the wounded. Tara was a spiritual stronghold, keeping them confident and strong. After the battle, when they returned to their village, Rudra, Lalita, and Tara gathered to discuss their experiences. "I realized that suffering can be a teacher," Rudra said. "Each of us came into the other's life to help him understand this." "Yes," Lalita agreed. "I saw how strong connections between people can change destiny," Tara added. "And that's exactly what I was trying to convey. Each of us is a drop in the ocean, and together we create waves." As time went on, Rudra, Lalita, and Tara became famous in their village. They shared their knowledge and experiences with others, helping them see that every person they met was an opportunity to grow. People came and went, but each left a mark on their lives that they treasured. One day, Lala, a seeker of answers, returned to the village. She heard about Rudra, Lalita, and Tara, and came to them with questions about her path. "I don't understand why my connections with people are so precarious," she said. "Every time I open my heart, it breaks." Rudra looked at Lala and said, "Every encounter is an opportunity. Even if someone leaves, the lesson remains. Every person you meet comes to teach you something important." Lalita added, "You can use your pain as a powerful teacher. Don't be afraid to open your heart, even if it's scary." Tara nodded. "Take each encounter as a gift. We are all connected by invisible threads of fate." Lala thought about her friend's words. She began to understand that her fears and doubts were part of her journey. Each person who came and went in her life left something valuable to help her grow. Lala stayed in the village to study with Rudra, Lalita, and Tara. Over time, she became part of their group. They meditated together, spent time in nature, and shared stories. Lala realized that each person has a unique light that can illuminate the path for others. Many years passed, and Lala became a wise teacher, sharing her experiences with others. Rudra, Lalita, and Tara continued on their own paths, but always remained connected. Each of them knew that their meeting was not accidental, but part of a greater plan. One day, as Lala sat by the river, she remembered her first questions and how much she had changed. She realized that her life was made complete by each person she met. "We are all reflections of each other," she thought. "And that is where our strength lies." History shows us that every person who comes into our lives brings important lessons and opportunities for growth. Interacting with others is part of our journey, and each person we meet becomes a reflection of our own aspirations and fears. By embracing these lessons and appreciating each encounter, we can deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. We are not alone. Each of us is connected to others by invisible threads of fate, and in this mutual understanding lies true strength and wisdom. 6. The Tale of the Stars of Destiny. The Journey of Sanjay and the Lotus. In a small village lost among endless rice fields, lived a young man named Sanjay. He was a dreamer and an adventurer who always wanted to find his place in this world. Sanjay spent his days looking at the stars and wondering, why do some people come into our lives and others don't? In his heart there was a deep yearning to understand the meaning of his meetings and separations. One day, while passing through the village, he met a wise old man named Prana, who often sat at the foot of the sacred Bodhi tree. Sanjay, attracted by his aura, approached him and asked, "Dear Prana, why is it that some people come into our lives and others don't? Is there any meaning to this?" The old man, smiling warmly, replied, "My young friend, every person you meet comes into your life for a reason. Each of them is a star that lights your path. Let me tell you a story that will help you understand this better." In another part of the world, among the mountains and forests, there lived a young man named Kai who aspired to be a martial artist. He trained hard, dreaming of fame and respect. But despite his dedication, he always felt that something important was slipping away from him. One day, while training, Kai met a girl named Lotus. She was meditating by a pond surrounded by flowers. Her calm and peace attracted Kai, and he decided to approach her. "Why are you so calm?" he asked. "There is so much fuss and competition in the world." Lotus opened her eyes and smiled. "Peace comes from within. You look for strength from the outside, but true strength is understanding yourself." Kai was amazed by her words, but he didn't know how to apply them in practice. He continued to train, but now he had a new goal: to find inner peace. Sanjay continued to listen to Prana's story. He understood that the story of Kai and Lotus was an important part of his own path. Kai and Lotus became friends. Lotus taught Kai meditation and the ability to listen to his heart. They spent time together, and every time Kai began to lose faith in himself, Lotus helped him remember why he started this path. One day, during one of his meditations, Kai felt a flow of energy that awakened his spirit. He realized that his true strength was not in victories, but in the ability to be in harmony with himself. But soon, trouble happened in their village. An evil gang began to terrorize the locals, and everyone was in a panic. Kai, wanting to protect his village, decided to fight the bandits, even though his inner voice told him not to. Lotus approached him and said, "You can't solve the problem outside if you don't calm the storm inside. Remember who you really are." Kai ignored her and went to fight. But when he faced the bandits, he realized that their cruelty was driven by suffering and despair. He decided to use his skills not for offense, but for defense. Kai returned to Lotus with a heart full of doubt. "I don't know what to do," he said. "I thought that strength was the ability to fight, but now I see that there is another way." Lotus, with love and patience, explained to Kai, "We all face hardships, but a true hero is one who can show compassion. You came to this world to learn and grow, and perhaps your meeting with me is part of that journey." Kai thought about her words. Together, they decided to create a program that would teach locals self-defense and meditation to help them overcome fear. They began to gather people, and soon their efforts began to bear fruit. People began to band together to protect their village, and they also began to learn to be more compassionate. At this time, another meeting took place in Sanjay's village. He learned about Kai and Lotus, and his interest in their story grew. He came to their village to learn more about how they overcame difficulties. When he met Kai and Lotus, he felt a connection between them. Sanjay asked, "How did you learn to be so strong and courageous?" Kai replied, "We realized that strength is not only physical might, but also the ability to love and care for others. Every person we met taught us this." Sanjay, inspired by their words, felt that his own path was also connected to theirs. Kai, Lotus, and Sanjay decided to join forces. They traveled to distant lands to help other people. Each time they met someone new, they realized that this meeting was not accidental. Each person came into their lives to teach them something important. One day, they met an elderly woman named Rani who was suffering from loneliness. She shared her stories of losing her loved ones and how it changed her life. Lotus, deeply touched, said, "We all go through suffering, but we can also find it an opportunity to grow. Let us be a part of your life." Sanjay, Kai, and Lotus began visiting Rani regularly. They brought her food, told her stories, and shared their lessons. Over time, Rani felt that she was not alone, and her heart filled with joy. Each of them, after spending time with Rani, realized that meeting her was not a coincidence. They learned to appreciate every moment they spent together and find joy in the simple things. As time went by, their combined efforts began to change the lives of many people in the village. They became known as the 3 Stars, a symbol of hope and unity. One day, sitting under a sacred tree, Sanjay reflected on everything they had experienced. "I finally understand," he said. We all came into this life for a reason. Every encounter, every lesson is a gift that we can use to grow and evolve. Kai added, smiling. And each of us, like a star in the night sky, lights the way for others. Our fates are intertwined, and that is our strength. Now, with their hearts full of love and gratitude, they continued on their way, helping others and accepting every encounter with an open heart. Each of them knew that their time together was just the beginning of a new journey. And even as they went their separate ways, each of them remained connected by an invisible thread of fate, creating a unique web of interactions and lessons. The story of Sanjay, Kai, and Lotus shows that every person we meet in our lives plays an important role in our path. These encounters are not accidental. They are designed to help us grow, learn, and realize the true meaning of life. Interactions with others based on love and compassion lead us to understand that we are not alone and that each of us is part of a larger web of destinies.